Testing. You hear me?
I can.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to give it about another minute. Well, I do have 7:30 on my clock, and it doesn't look like there is anybody else in the waiting room. Should any other attendees jump on, I will go ahead and let them in, but let it be known that I will go ahead and call this April 27th City Council meeting to order. The time is still 7:30. And so with that, I would like for council members and audience to remain on mute, but join me as we perform the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, with the Pledge of Allegiance complete, I'm going to ask that the members of the council go ahead and unmute yourselves in preparation for roll call. And with that, will the clerk please call roll?
Nikhil.
Here.
Budmetz.
Present.
O'Brien.
Here.
Veneziano.
Here.
Bessetti.
Here.
Diastis.
Present.
Sunoika.
Here.
With 7 present and nobody absent, there is a quorum this evening. Therefore, members of the audience, you are reminded that these proceedings are being recorded for current and future broadcasts over the city's cable television channel, as well as other media outlets. As always, a couple housekeeping items to make note of. The first is that public comment will of course be afforded to the public who are joining us on this conference line, as long as they've provided their contact credentials and the subject matter for which they would like to speak about before the deadline, which is noted at the top of tonight's agenda. Members of the public who are present in City Council chambers listening to this meeting will also be afforded the opportunity to provide public comment in accordance with the procedures that are applicable to public comment at an in-person City Council meeting. Namely, members of the public must have signed in before the start of this meeting, and any written comments that were submitted prior to this evening will be read aloud. As we go ahead and jump right into this, the first order of business is to approve minutes from the previous meeting, and that meeting is the April 13th City Council meeting. With that, I'd like a show of hand for a motion to approve these minutes. Thank you, Alderman Sunoika. Thank you, Alderman O'Brien, for the second. With that, are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to these minutes? Seeing none, the question is, shall the minutes be approved? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis.
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
Nikhil.
Yes.
Budmetz.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
Bessetti.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the minutes are approved. Moving on, we do not have any items for deviation, so we will continue on with tonight's agenda. As we move on to the mayor's report, I just want to provide a couple comments on a couple different topics. The first is a quick recap of today's vaccine event. We had close to 450. I think Alderman Veneziano knows the specific numbers. I saw it come through, but I wasn't paying attention with all the other things going on. But I still, after 400 residents and neighboring community members to get vaccines, I'm very proud of the work that we did. I specifically want to thank Alderman Veneziano, Mikhail, and Nancy Mao for being at the nucleus of coordinating this event with me. Of course, thank you to City Council for being supportive of this overall. Thanks to City staff for helping with everything. Our partners at Jewel Osco and the Rolling Meadows Community Church for providing the venue where all these residents could receive their vaccine. I just want to say thank you primarily to the volunteers today for their efforts. It went off without a hitch, and I'm looking forward to round 2 on May 18th when the residents come back for their second dose. Additionally to that topic about vaccination, the Cook County Department of Public Health recently started providing metrics on towns and residents who have received vaccinations. You can find that at ccdph.com. I believe .com. I'll have the deputy clerk with the actual URL. But what I found enlightening about that, and actually I'm going to share it on the screen just for a quick moment because I think it's that important. I've been looking for this data for a pretty long time now. Manager Crumstock knows this. The conversation I've been trying to have is getting this information. You'll notice I just took our neighboring communities to Arlington Heights, Elk Grove Village, Hoffman Estates, Palatine, Rolling Meadows, of course, and Schaumburg. And the Cook County Department of Public Health breaks it down by individuals who have received 1 dose of a 2-dose vaccine, or the complete vaccine, which is 2 doses in a 2-dose cycle, and the population for 2019. And you'll see that the percent population for 1 dose ranges between 40% and 55%. The population and percent for complete vaccinations demonstrates that it's anywhere between 24% to the highest at 32% vaccination levels. The CDC originally recommended 90% vaccination among the nation to get to herd immunity. They would be content with 70 to 80%. And this information is extremely critical for decision makers like ourselves when it comes time to discuss mitigation efforts, or if we need to loosen any restrictions, or if we need to tighten them based on what's happening with actual COVID infections versus the vaccinations that are occurring in our communities. So I'm very thankful to the Cook County Department of Public Health for starting to make these metrics available. They'll be extremely important going forward, especially when we try to open up over the summer, have events, the Independence Day parade and fireworks, etc. So for that, I'm extremely thankful that we have this data available. Moving on from that topic, we do have a quick reminder that property taxes are due on May 3rd after the extension that was provided by Cook County. So for anyone who has not yet made their property taxes, the deadline without receiving payment penalties is May 3rd. With this information, are there any ward reports this evening? Alderman Sonoyka.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I received calls from 2 residents. The first needed assistance regarding a refuse issue. A big thank you to Mr. Bill Sachecki for addressing a resident's leftover refuse the same day the resident called Public Works. She is very thankful for that. A second resident reached out inquiring about the use of storage containers by the CVS located at Plum Grove Road and Euclid Avenue. I will follow up with community development regarding this issue, and the resident has been informed that that is in flight. I also continue to receive inquiries about noise containment from Route 53 from various residents. The topic remains under review and is discussed through the Capital Projects Committee meetings, which are open to the public and can be attended from anywhere over WebEx on the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. for those who are interested in continued updates on that item. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Alderman Veneziano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that number was 432 residents that we vaccinated today. But for ward reports, I have pretty much one item that I did, and I believe Alderman O'Brien received some emails as well, because we kind of share this. We got a couple emails from a couple of residents on Kirchoff Road, and then I did receive some emails from residents in our actual ward with concerns about the recent accident on Kirchoff Road, but then just overall this speeding that we've been seeing on Kirchoff Road. So I did talk to Chief Nowacki, and he's just going to kind of give us a brief update on some of the upcoming information to follow. So if Chief wants to chime in and give us some more information.
Thank you for that, Alderman Veneziano. We'll hold any sort of feedback that Chief would like to give during matters not on the
I
agenda.
mean, the roadway does. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chief, would you mind
Okay.
holding on to
Sure.
this for matters not on the agenda so we can get into detail with it, if you don't mind?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Alderman Veneziano. Any additional information on that?
That is it. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. With that, are there any other ward reports this evening? Okay, without any other ward reports, now is the time that we will open the floor for public comment for the next 20 minutes. Prior to calling on, there are two names, two signatures on the sign-in sheet. And prior to calling on these individuals, I just want to lay some ground rules in advance. And so with that, I'd like to address the following. Any person who seeks to address the City Council at this time for public comments shall be permitted to speak only upon recognition of the presiding officer, and such person shall adhere to the following provisions. Each person addressing the City Council shall state their name for the record. Each person shall be granted no more than 5 minutes of the allotted 20 minutes in order to address the City Council. Commentary shall be directed to the presiding officer unless the presiding officer permits individuals to address the council members or other city officers present. Discussion shall take place in a professional manner which displays mutual respect. And of course, profanity shall not be used in any form or manner. With this, I do have two names, as I mentioned. The first name is Derek Oberg. Derek, if you're on the call, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, my name is Derek Oberg, and I am the owner of Ascend Bike Studio. And my business is seeking a special use permit to operate at 1225 Carnegie Street. And that is item D on this evening's agenda. Just to give you a brief background on the business, Ascend Bike Studio is an indoor cycling facility, but unlike a spin studio that you may be familiar with, where people go and they just ride on the stationary bikes there, clients actually bring in their own bicycles and they ride and they fix them on stationary trainers in which the resistance on their tire is controlled by a computer. Everybody gets to work out together, but their resistance can be controlled or customized to each individual based upon their ability. As you can imagine, for something that is indoor cycling, it is a seasonal business. So it is primarily operating between October and April. My clients range from cyclists, triathletes, or just anyone looking for general fitness. The bike studio does provide a supportive environment for those that are working out, but it does also provide a safe space. As I mentioned, the primary season is October to April. So as you're aware, days are shorter, it's colder, roads can be icy. There are a lot of risks with riding outside during those times. So riding inside is a way for those people to continue to work towards their goals throughout the winter months. So this past year, as I was seeking out a new location for the business, Rolling Meadows seemed ideal, not only just for the central location, but it is a family-friendly community, and it does have a lot of outdoor space for a lot of people to exercise in those summer months. But in the winter months, I noticed there is a need for some place to safely train throughout those months. So I'm hoping that if granted this special use permit, I'll be able to fulfill that need and help people achieve their goals. So I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have and willing to work with you throughout this application process. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Oberg. Thank you for providing the additional insight to your business, and I wish you all the best with that. It sounds very interesting. Appreciate that. The next signature on the list is Renata Berza of Shelby's. Here for item B, just wanted it to be known to the council that they are available for discussion or questions should any arise for them with that item. Moving forward then to items that are pending, we have the first line item A. It's ordinance number 21-22 to approve an ordinance confirming and extending the state of emergency within the city of Rolling Meadows due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Is there, by show of hand, a motion to adopt this ordinance? Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka, and thank you for the second, Alderman Veneziano. Is there, by show of hand, any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Sonoyka,
Yes.
McHale,
Yes.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
That's 7 in favor and none opposed. This ordinance is adopted. Moving on to the next item, line item B, ordinance number 21-23 is to amend the alcohol liquor code to approve a class GC, which is a gaming cafe liquor license for Laredo Hospitality, doing business as Shelby's, located at 2164 Plum Grove Road in Rolling Meadows. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Thank you, Alderman Diastis, and thank you, Alderman Sonoyka, for the second. Is there, by show of hand, any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
McHale,
Yes.
Bud Matts,
No.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sonoyka.
Yes.
With 6 in favor and 1 opposed, this ordinance is adopted. Moving on, the next item on the agenda are the consent ordinances in for first reading. I'll go ahead and scroll my monitor for us. This consists of 4 items. There are items C through F. Does any alderman wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for ordinances? Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for a real quick one, D as in Delta, please.
Delta. Got it. Any others from any other alderman? Okay. So seeing no others, then the chair declares it in order for one motion to consider the 3 items in a single motion without debate. Is there such a motion? Alderman O'Brien, I'll take your hand as the first since it's still up. Thank you. And Alderman Sonoyka, I'll take the second on that. So line item C, ordinance number 21-00 at this time is to approve an ordinance confirming and extending the state of emergency within the city of Rolling Meadows due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Line item E, which is ordinance number 21-00 at this time to grant approval of a variation from section 3-7-B-4 of the City Code, Chapter 122 of the City of Rolling Meadows zoning ordinance to reduce the south side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet to allow a 2-car garage in an R3 zoning district and other relief necessary to accommodate a 2-car garage at 3801 Raven Lane. Lastly, line item F, ordinance number 21-00, authorize the disposal of surplus city property equipment. The question is, shall the 3 ordinances be moved forward for second reading? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McHale.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, those ordinances will move forward to second reading. Now circling back to line item D, ordinance number 21-00, grant approval of a special use pursuant to section V4A3 of the City Code, chapter 122 of the City of Rolling Meadows zoning ordinance to operate an indoor athletic facility in an M1 zoning district, a variation to reduce required parking spaces from 76 to the 62 provided on the lot, and other relief necessary to accommodate the indoor bicycle studio at 1225 Carnegie Street, Suite 108. And now I look for a motion to consider the ordinance. Thank you, Alderman Sunoika. Thank you, Alderman Veneziano, for the second. Alderman O'Brien, you had pulled this one. The floor is yours. The opportunity to speak is now.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll be real brief on this. Just 2 quick points. One, I do want to say I did receive a call in complete support from a nearby business owner to where Ascend and Mr. Oberg will be going in. Nothing but positive things to say, being a nearby neighbor and fellow owner that reached out to me that also happens to be a resident of Rolling Meadows. So I'm in full support of this. The only question I do have, and it might be more for staff, is the planning and zoning recommendation about striping 1 additional parking spot to have 3 ADA spaces included in this ordinance, or would that be at reading 2? Because I did see that recommendation from P&Z.
Attorney Wolf, do you have a recommendation, or Manager Crumstock?
If the city council desires to require that as a condition of granting the special use, it would need to be added to the upcoming final ordinance.
And I think also that Public Works Assistant Director Joellen Charlton can actually give a summary of that planning and zoning, because if I remember correctly, that was sort of discussed, but at the same point in time, the overall meeting, how that was resolved.
I do see Assistant Director Charlton's hands up. So let's call on her before we decide to take any direction with this to get that insight and then go from there. Assistant Director Charlton?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend that as a condition of approval based on the staff report, which indicated that in order to comply with the Illinois Accessibility Code, 3 accessible parking spaces are required, and there are currently only 2. So if we missed putting that in the first reading ordinance, that was our mistake, and we should put it in the second reading ordinance for your consideration to be consistent with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation.
Okay, thank you for that. So Alderman O'Brien, do you want to make a motion to have it included now, or should we just proceed and have it in by the second reading?
I'm perfectly fine just proceeding and noting it'll be in that second reading. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on this item while we're still on discussion? Assistant Director Charlton, I'm just going to lower your hand if there's nothing further. Appreciate the insight you provided there. If there is no further discussion, the question is, shall the ordinance be moved forward for second reading? Will the clerk please call the roll?
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McHale,
Yes.
Budmats. Nick?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the ordinance will be moved forward to second reading. This now brings us on to new business, and it's line item G, a motion to approve payment of bills on warrant for April 27th, 2021. Is there, by show of hand, a motion to approve the warrant? Thank you, Alderman O'Brien, for the first. And thank you, Alderman McHale, for the second. Is there any discussion of the bills on warrant? Seeing none, the question is, shall the warrant be approved? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McHale,
Yes.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
That makes 7 in favor and none opposed. The warrant is approved. Go ahead and scroll a little bit more on monitor 2 to bring us to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent resolutions. This consists of 5 items, items H through L. Does any alderman wish to remove any items from the consent agenda for resolutions? 2 hands here. Alderman Bud Matts.
Item L, please.
Item L. All right. And then I saw Alderman Sonoyka.
J.
J. Wonderful. So with those 2 pulled, it looks like that there are then 3 remaining. So the chair declares it in order for one motion to consider the 3 resolutions in a single motion without debate. Is there such a motion? Thank you, Alderman Bud Matts, and thank you, Alderman Sonoyka, for the second. This brings us to the first line item, letter H, resolution number 21-R-36. Authorize the ordering of snow and ice control salt for the 2021 and 2022 winter season. Line item I, resolution number 21-R-37, to award a contract for the 2021 annual thermoplastic pavement marking program services. Line item K, resolution number 21-R-39, to award a contract for the 2021 storm sewer improvements and repairs. The question is, shall the 3 resolutions be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McHale,
Yes.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the resolutions are adopted. Now, circling back up to the top, we'll start with the first in the chronology, which is line item J, resolution number 21-R-38, to authorize award of a contract for fiscal year 2021 street maintenance pavement restorative seal applications, PRA and CRF, as designated on the maps in the agenda packet this evening. The question is there a motion to adopt this resolution? Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka, for the first and Alderman Bud Matts for the second. Alderman Sonoyka, you had pulled this one. Floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to provide some background for residents that did reach out about this item. In June of 2017, the City Council at the time discussed the possibility of prohibiting coal tar sealants on public and private pavement, as recommended by the Rolling Meadows Environmental Committee. At the time, the policy did not leave the Committee of the Whole, and currently there are no prohibitions on the books for the City of Rolling Meadows. That said, I want to assure residents that the pavement restorative seal application and services referenced in Resolution J use a maltine base and not coal tar, and does not come with the same concerns as coal tar-based materials. I will be voting in favor of the municipal partnering initiative at the pricing that was provided to us tonight. And I recommend that the Environmental Committee continue to work closely with Public Works to ensure long-term, sustainable, and safe street maintenance. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Any further discussion while the discussion is open on this subject? Seeing none, then the question is, shall the resolution be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McHale,
Yes.
Bud Matts,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the resolution is adopted. Continuing on with line item L, resolution number 21-R-40, authorize the replacement of Public Works Phase 2 protective floor covering in the vehicles service area. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution? Excuse me. Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka for the first and Alderman Budmetz for the second. Alderman Budmetz, you pulled this. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I looked back in our contract in October of last year, and the bidder that is currently being suggested was at that time the lowest bidder. There was another bidder that was pretty close in price, within $1,000. And it should be noted that the size of the area that we're doing now at this juncture is smaller, but the price is about 8 to 10% higher. So overall, we're paying about a 15% increase over 6 months ago, what we paid to the same contractor. So the question is, did staff get other prices for this second phase? And is this second phase, in fact, the last phase? And were we satisfied with this bidder's work the first time around, so much so that we're willing to pay a slight premium?
Thank you, Alderman Budmetz. Can staff answer Alderman Budmetz's inquiry?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A couple items regarding Alderman Budmetz's comments. The first item is the material we brought to the council, the initial project. They were different materials. So once we made a decision to go with this type of material, we kind of, I don't want to say made a commitment, but we kind of acknowledged that we were going to use that product throughout. One of the primary reasons, or not one of, the primary reason that we are seeing a cost increase is not because the material cost changed. What it is because the areas that are affected by this project do not include any shared spaces. So therefore the Rolling Meadows Park District will not be paying a percentage of this project because the floor area that's getting completed is entirely, I don't know what you call it, owned, entirely under the control of the City of Rolling Meadows Public Works Department. Is not shared floor space, which was true as part of last year's project. There are more areas to be done, but we've spread those areas out throughout the 5-year plan. But what I can say is those areas do not abut to any other treated floor space. So we will get proposals for each one of those future phases because the continuity between the flooring was really not as important as this phase. Hopefully that answered your questions, Alderman Budmetz.
Yep, thank you very much, Director.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Director Horn. Alderman Budmetz, any further discussion on the subject?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. While we're still open on discussion, is there any others from other members of the council at this time? Seeing none, the question is, shall the resolution be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Sonoyka,
Yes.
McHale,
Yes.
Budmetz,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Feliciano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the resolution is adopted. That brings the council on to other business and reports. As I scroll down on monitor 2 as well, you'll see that there are a couple appointments this evening. The first one is making an appointment to the Fire Pension Board. This is Mr. Ethan Salzinger. He has provided a biography, which was included in a memo out to the council, in addition to being included in the agenda packet. I would like to ask for a motion to approve his appointment to the Fire Pension Board. Is there such a motion? Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Thank you, Alderman O'Brien, for the second. Is there any discussion on this appointment? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
McHale,
Yes.
Budmetz,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, Mr. Ethan is now part of the Fire Pension Board. Moving on to the next set of appointments, it's for the Capital Projects Committee. The first one is for Director Horn, and this is in transition to taking the place of his predecessor, which was Director Vogt. And so for this, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve Director Horn for the appointment. Thank you, Alderman McHale for the first and Alderman Veneziano for the second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question is, will Director Horn be appointed to the Capital Projects Committee? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Budmats,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McHale.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, Director Horn is now an active member on the Capital Projects Committee in full action here. The next is Mr. Steve Hollish. He's a reappointment. He's been serving on the Capital Projects Committee for quite some time. He's very active in the committee, and from a conversation I had with him a short while ago, he still very much appreciates giving his time and his energies toward it. So for this, I'd like to ask for a motion to reappoint Mr. Steve Hollish. Thank you, Alderman Diastis for the first and Alderman Veneziano for the second. Is there any discussion on the reappointment for Steve Hollish? Seeing none, the question is, will Mr. Steve Hollish be reappointed to the Capital Projects Committee? Will the clerk please call the roll?
O'Brien,
Yes.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McHale,
Yes.
Budmats.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, Mr. Hollish is reappointed. Moving on for Mayor's Proclamations. This is the 52nd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, which will begin on May 2nd, lasting through May 8th of 2021. And with that, I do have a proclamation that I would like to read. So, whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies and agencies of the government at other levels, and whereas the municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of this office of the municipal clerk. And now, therefore, I, Joe Gallo, Mayor of the City of Rolling Meadows, do recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th of 2021 as the Municipal Clerk Week, and further extend appreciation to our Deputy City Clerk, Judy Brose, and to all the municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. To you, Judy, we thank you. And for that, I thank you for everything I lean on you for throughout the week that nobody really sees.
Thank you. No problem. That's what I'm here for.
Wonderful. And with that, is there anything for the clerk to report?
Yes, I just want to do one more reminder for for those who haven't filed their SEI with Cook County to do so by May 3rd to avoid the late fee. And if you need your file or ID number to reset your password, just give me a call or send me an email and I'll send it to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that reminder. This now brings us to city staff reports. Just a reminder, there are no discussions on the staff reports, but we'll begin with the community items of interest. And for this, I will defer to Manager Crumstock.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Obviously, before you are a few items that we would like to discuss, but also mention. And there are 3 additional to add since this was created. Obviously, Mayor Gallo did mention that you have until May 3rd to pay without any late charges the first installment of the Cook County property tax bill. We do want to reiterate that again, thank you to Jewel Osco for working for the 11 local communities that will be providing another mass vaccination clinic that's going to be coming up. And again, if you want additional information, we will have that, and it is on our website at this point in time too. The dates for this max vaccination event, if you could not make it to the Rolling Meadows one, is May 6th, and then the second shot would be given on May 27th. These are scheduled to be Pfizer vaccines, and it will be again at the Schaumburg Convention Center. And the next thing that we do want to mention, like Mayor Gallo did say, and Alderman Veziano, we do appreciate all the partners that helped out on the Rolling Meadows vaccination, specifically Jewel Osco again for administering the shots, but also Knockout Prince, Jersey Mike's, Dunkin' Donuts, and everybody else, especially the volunteers. We do also want to thank the Rolling Meadows Park District and a few other locations that provided wheelchairs to us. For those who did get the first vaccine, please return for the second vaccine. You do need both to be fully vaccinated. We do also want to mention this Thursday here at City Hall in the council chambers. That would be Thursday, April 29th between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Vitalent will be doing another blood drive here. If you would like to schedule, it's 877-258-4825. Wearing a face covering mask is required. Walk-ins will only be accommodated if there's no one scheduled to be present at the council chamber at that time. We do want to reiterate that future blood drives for 2021 are now scheduled to be conducted on June 24th, August 26th, October 28th, and December 23rd. We do want to reiterate to folks again that the IRS has decided to delay the traditional tax filing deadline from April 15th until May 17th for the federal tax filing season, and also the state of Illinois did the same thing. But we do want to reiterate, if you're on a payment plan or any others, you should have already filed. That only additional is for those individuals who were not part of any extensions or anything else. There are extensions still given, but you must work with the IRS in the state of Illinois at that point in time. As we've been saying pretty much for about a year and a half, please shop, dine, and order in Rolling Meadows is more important than ever during these times. It is significant to remember our big boxes, restaurants, and small businesses. We do want to mention that the Rolling Meadows Garden Club will be conducting its annual plant and craft sale after a 1-year hiatus due to COVID-19 concerns. It will be conducted on Saturday, May 15th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., rain or shine. The new location that they're using is 3000 Central Road. We do want to reiterate that is, again, Saturday, May 15th between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. is the Garden Club's annual plant and craft sale. Because it is April, it's one of our months that we have the electronic e-news and views. We do recommend that you go to our website and click on that and actually look at what we mentioned in April. This is the sister publication for the printed newsletter, and both are produced 6 times a year. I do want to reiterate before I get to the last meetings or the upcoming meetings for May, 3 additional items. As I mentioned on the Friday letter, but also for residents to know that the Rolling Meadows Library will be commencing Sunday hours starting on May 16th. They will run from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. We do want to mention and thank everybody who came out on Saturday for the DEA and Rolling Meadows PD drug take-back event. This event, and they usually do twice a year, but we received 106 pounds of material. But we do want to reiterate to all Rolling Meadows residents, businesses, and friends that we do have, thanks to Cook County here at City Hall on the 2nd floor, we do have a drop box, and county does check it and comes items before. The third one that I want to add before I go back to the committees coming up is we do appreciate and thank John Loesch Sr. for all of his years of service. He is retiring on Friday. He did not win a proclamation, but again, we appreciate all of his work and dedication, and obviously all that he has done for the city of Rolling Meadows, and then numerous deployments that he's had to other locations after hurricanes or other items too. That brings us back to future topics at the main May committees. Economic Development Committee will be meeting on Monday, May 3rd at 6 p.m. Tentative items scheduled for this meeting consist of new business list, feedback and distribution of the new list, a presentation from Meet Chicago Northwest. We had one last year, we're having one there. Their executive director will be doing this before he leaves for a different job in a different state, but this is a return trip for Meet Chicago Northwest. We will be still discussing the 2021 goal discussion continued. There's a new restaurant incentive and some other items that will be on a future committee of the whole, hopefully as we finish up at the EDC. There will be some staff reports and then items of interest. The other item that we do want to mention in main committee is the Planning and Zoning Commission. They will be meeting the next day on Tuesday, May 4th at 7 p.m. There are tentatively 3 items to be discussed at this meeting. The first one is a public hearing and consideration of a text amendment to add an outdoor storage as it allowed special use in the M1 and M2 zoning districts in section 122-331 of the city zoning code of ordinances. City of Rolling Meadows is the petitioner for that. The second one is a public hearing and consideration of a special use pursuant to section 122-301 subsection 3 of the City of Rolling Meadows zoning code of ordinances to allow outdoor storage in the M1 zoning district, 3835 Industrial Avenue. Scott Arnett, Spring Green is the petitioner. This is also with the permission of Mike Maloney, Lehman Peterson, who is the property owner that is actually having this section. The third item is a public hearing meeting for a zoning code of ordinance to allow a school use and other relief necessary to accommodate the use of an existing single-family home in the R3 zoning district as training facility for construction trade at the 3500 Birdnick Lane. Megan Knight from the Township School District 214 is the petitioner. With those are the items of interest for this meeting.
Thank you for sharing that, Manager Crumstock. Let's go ahead and continue on with the March 2021 new businesses, if you have that information before you.
For March, we had 2 new businesses. Obviously, it's kind of interesting that both deal with either smoking or tobacco or vaping, but we do appreciate all the new businesses. One's on 1645 Algonquin Road. One is Sky Vapor Tobacco at 3338 Kirchoff Road, right by Daisy's.
Thank you for sharing those updates on the new businesses in town. This leaves the third item, which is the May 11th City Council draft agenda.
So what you have in front of you is actually one meeting that has really 2 different parts. Obviously, the first part of the meeting starts with old business, and then we do the swearing in of the new alderman, and then obviously continue with new business. So starting on May 11th at 7:30, we will do all the second readings that we did. So the COVID-19 pandemic, we will also do the special use that we talked about, plus the variance that we talked about on the garage. We will also have the second reading of the disposal of the surplus property equipment for the City of Rolling Meadows. Then we do pay some bills, and that is considered old business because we've already finished that. Then we will take a motion to deviate to say goodbye and farewell to Alderman Diastis. Then we will take some time to swear in city council members. We recess for cake. There will be cake here at City Hall virtually unless others show up with it. There will be some cake or cookies. We're still working on that one to everybody at different locations. Then we go back into calling order, and obviously the new roll call for the city council that's in place at that point. We will have the first reading of a new ordinance for COVID-19, and then we will have 5 new resolutions that staff is working on. One is the asphalt material for Public Works. The next one is the GIGO grant. They are asking for an agreement between us. It's really just that what was awarded to us. And then there will also be the 2021 street reconstruction project, the contract for the 2021 street reconstruction bids, and those are actually very favorable. They were opened up today. We'll also be rejecting the 2021 main valve improvement bids that the city will actually work on redoing at this point in time. They came in a little higher than expected. We will have community items of interest, then we'll have the April new businesses, and then you'll have the drafts of the May Committee of the Whole and the May 25th last meeting of the thing. We do want to reiterate that May 18th, majority of that meeting is the beginning of elected officials training. Obviously, City Attorney Wolf will be doing that. We do need additional training, and actually due to some other items, it will be a little bit longer, and it might be done what we've done in the past, that it might be over 2 different Committee of the Whole meetings. And then we have matters not on the agenda, closed session if we need, and obviously adjournment. That would be the May 11th draft City Council meeting.
Thank you for providing the brief look ahead to May 11th, Manager Crumstock. Appreciate that. This now takes us to matters not on the agenda. And at this time, Alderman Bessetti, if you don't mind, I'm going to allow Chief Nowacki to share his insight to continue on the back of Alderman Veneziano's ward report, and then I'll address your matters if that's okay. So Chief Nowacki, I apologize for cutting you off before, but I wanted to make sure you have the appropriate time and attention to share your input on Kirchoff Road as Alderman Veneziano was discussing.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It's like I get a second bite of the apple. I always wanted to say that. As I continue, as I was saying, I just want to let all the residents know and to ensure them that obviously speed enforcement on Kirchoff is a priority for the police department. Kirchoff Road does travel through the heart of the city. We have a school crossing across Kirchoff. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of people pulling out of driveways. So it definitely is a priority. And I have noticed that the speeds have upticked with the warmer weather and also as more people return to work. As you're aware, Mayor, and most are aware, there was a significant crash there in Kirchoff. A lot of residents, were alarmed regarding that. Vehicle did roll over. We were very fortunate that no one was killed in the crash. And the police department is currently still completing our investigation on that matter. So I don't want to jeopardize the investigation, but there are some very significant contributing factors that caused this crash. I will be moving forward. I'm conducting a speed survey on Kirchoff Road. I'll be using some new equipment that I had recently purchased. And then I will use those results to better target the problem with more precise enforcement. So I do encourage anybody traveling down Kirchoff, make sure they obey the speed limit, because we will be definitely out there with increased enforcement.
Thank you for providing that, Chief. Look forward to hopefully hearing a little bit more about the analysis after you perform the traffic survey in the near future. Alderman Bessetti.
Yes. I understand this matter is solely under your discretion, Mr. Mayor, but I was wondering about returning to, since I'm guessing most of us, if not all of us, have been fully vaccinated, if we want to return to council chambers starting next meeting.
I appreciate you bringing that up. There's a lot going into the dialogue just beyond vaccinations, of course. This will be addressed, but at this time, I am not planning on doing that at this time.
Okay, thank you,
will
Mr.
be
Mayor.
notified. Any other matters not on the agenda? Alderman Veneziano?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So council members were issued a final report from the Salvation Army distribution of the $25,000 funds that we allocated them recently. And so I was hoping to be able to get that on an upcoming Committee of the Whole meeting, so we can, as a council, discuss those final numbers and determine if we wish to reallocate additional funds in that same manner, since we have depleted that initial $25,000. And so I'll leave it up to staff on when we can get that into a Committee of the Whole agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Veneziano, for bringing that up. Alderman Diastis.
There we go. Thank you. I had contacted Director Horn about work that is being done on Central Road from 53 through Arlington Heights Road, and was wondering if he had any updates for us.
Director Horn?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Alderman Diastis. I did look into that. The city did issue a permit for new Comcast fiber optic line to be installed from Route 53 east into Arlington Heights, as you indicated. As part of that permit, the contractor is required to restore all of the areas that they've damaged. We will follow up with that contractor and get a schedule in the near future, but that is expected. They are doing directional boring, but they do what's called potholing every 100 or 200 feet, whatever the project calls for, to make sure they're at the right depth and there's no conflict with other utilities. So we will be following up with them. We do have a signed permit ensuring that they will do all the restoration required to our satisfaction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other matters not on this evening's agenda? Seeing no further matters, then I guess I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Alderman Sonoyka. Thank you, Alderman McHale, for the second. At this time, I'll ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Veneziano,
Yes.
Bessesi,
Yes.
Diastis,
Yes.
Sunoika,
Yes.
McKeel,
Yes.
Budmats,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
7 in favor and none opposed. The meeting is adjourned, and I wish you all a wonderful evening. Have a good night.
Good night.